Well, praise the Lord, friends. We are back with my honorable friend and my partner in exercise and health and nutrition. The good doctor, Ken Lynch, Goes Gym in Evans, Georgia. Now, just a little bit before we get into the health issues and the exercising, Ken came from LA, one of my favorite cities. In fact, I guess you could tell today that we're honoring, Ken's hometown by just kind of celebrating one of these championships. There are many, and I found out that one of his favorite baseball teams is the same as mine, the LA Dodgers.
Yeah.
You know, Ken, my dad raised me loving the Dodgers. I love the LA Dodgers. I could tell you about everybody who played for them. I remember all of the fast players, the pitchers, the home run hitters, the center fielders, the shortstops, the catchers, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And the coaches, the managers, the owners, everything about LA. And as a young man aspiring to be a baseball player, I kept up with the stats of LA players because I wanted so bad to someday be a Dodger.
Yeah, I grew up in the Steve Garvey, the Ron Say, the Davy Lopes, the Baker,
Wow.
Dusty Baker, but just wanting to go to Dodger Stadium and have a dog and hang out and with my family and friends. Great memories.
I love the stadium. I love the Dodger Stadium. Isn't it nice?
It's great.
Oh man, and the way all of the, what is it, like the Jackie Robinson, all of the statues down there at that section. What is that? The entry.
Yeah.
It's down on what level is that? At the foot of the mountain? How did they do that?
I forget.
It's like you've got to come down this. Oh my God! I was going down escalators, right? And it was like, man, these things drop vertically like that. And you get to the bottom, and then you look and you think you're at the bottom, and then there's another one, and then there's another one. And I'm like, oh my God, we're going down a mountain here. And sure enough,
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful stadium, man.
It's gorgeous.
It's gorgeous, and so I just love LA.
Yeah, it's a great place.
Great place. So now, in LA, did you do a lot of running? Did you do a lot of exercise? What is it that did you start being? Was it that you were sports minded?
Well, just growing up as a kid, you had AYSO, like soccer, and then we had basketball leagues. Just growing up with a lot of friends in the neighborhood, we created teams, and so we were always playing basketball. My dad, we had lived on the cul-de-sac, so he put a basketball rim on the end of the cul-de-sac for all the kids to play in, and that's where I found my love for basketball.
Okay.
And then being in California, the beach and all that
beach.
stuff, beach volleyball.
Santa Monica.
Yeah, Santa Monica Beach.
And I mean,
State
just
Beach.
and
Real Rogers Beach.
oh, keep on going all the way up, right?
Malibu, yeah.
Right. Do you realize when I go to LA, I'll catch about 4 or 5 beaches. Just I go straight on the out on the Beltline on the coast.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, Pacific Coast Highway. It's gorgeous.
Now, have you ever went whale watching?
Yeah, we've done that a couple times as a family.
So did you go from Malibu, or did you go from the Santa Monica side, or where'd you leave from?
Malibu.
From Malibu.
Yeah.
See, there I'm familiar, right?
Yeah.
I tried to get my wife to go whale watching, and we'll go on our 30th anniversary. I tried to get her to go whale watching. She said, "Well, I ain't getting out there with no whale. Get out there in the water with no whale. Get out there in the whale. Those whales ain't tame." She said, "Like, what if we get out there and we're in a little old small boat in the whale? What we gonna do?" So it was strange because we were headed up towards, and we'll get back here in just a moment. We were headed up towards the Hearst Castle. You ever heard of the Hearst Castle? You've been there?
Yes, of course.
Beautiful. It's almost like they took England, a part of England, right?
Yeah.
A palace, and set it there.
Yeah.
It is drop dead gorgeous. Anyway, we were headed towards Hearst Castle, and it came on the news that the area we just left from near Malibu they sighted a whale, and oh, it just broke my heart. I wanted to turn around. I wanted to turn around and try to get back and see if we could, I could at least let me go out, because it's always been one of the things I wanted to do. I just wanted to be able to say I went whale watching.
Yeah, there's a certain season, I forget what season it is, that they come out there more prevalently.
Wow. Well, I need to find. We're gonna talk after the program and see if we can. We can remember.
We probably can Google it.
Yeah, we can go. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So when we last, in the last portion of our program, we talked about something very interesting, and I wanted us to revisit this issue because this is a very pertinent issue, I believe, not just in the body of Christ, but throughout the world. People need to know, as we age, the importance of gut health. Gut health. You mentioned earlier that in many cases, our back pain is the result of the excessive weight that we carry in our gut. Can you elaborate on that? And then maybe help us to understand that sometimes our abs are in the kitchen.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. At the gym, we have the Gut Be Gone program.
The Gut Be Gone program.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. Everyone's like, I want to get rid of the gut, and the main thing we just align is that we have at the club, when we do our first orientation with you, we have a special machine that actually tests your visceral fat.
Okay.
And your visceral fat is your unhealthy fat that's around your midsection.
So you test our visceral. Can you spell that word?
Visceral? I don't know how to spell that word.
Is it V-I or V?
I don't know.
V-I-S or V-I-C? Sound like
visceral. Yeah.
V-I-S, V-I-C.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
But
visceral, like cereal, but visceral.
Exactly.
Yeah, got you.
So we test your visceral fat, and your visceral fat needs to be under at least 10. So when a person is over 20, when you're over 20, it doesn't go past 20, but we know that you have a higher chance of chronic diseases.
Really?
Yeah. So.
Now, wait a minute. I didn't know you were going to say you have higher chances of chronic diseases if your visceral fat is over 10.
Yeah.
And visceral fat can be monitored.
Yeah.
It can be tested.
It can be tested.
Is there, does the gym offer testing?
Yes.
For someone who just wants to walk in and have themselves tested?
Yeah, please. Come in.
Is there a charge?
No.
No charge. Now, you hear that. Ken Lynch, the owner of Gold's Gym in Evans, Georgia, is inviting you to come and have your visceral fat tested.
Yes.
To make sure that you're not pre-exposed to chronic health, chronic illness.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about that a little bit, because I'm.
So these are all illnesses that are preventable.
Okay.
So when we have a high visceral fat that's around our midsection, the interesting thing is that that's a high case of type 2 diabetes, hypertension.
So that's where the type 2 diabetes mainly formulates.
Well, it's a good cause for it because
it's a good cause for it.
Yeah, because we can see that a person is usually storing more fat. They're not exercising.
Okay.
They're not moving.
So they're not moving enough, and that's causing the visceral fat to accumulate in their gut area.
Yeah.
More. Okay.
So the interesting thing and how the body works is that it does want to lose the weight in the midsection first because it's a health risk.
Okay.
You'll see some people will carry their weight sometimes in their lower part of their body and not their upper part.
Okay.
So it's their body. So those body types are different. So there's certain body types for certain individuals that their body will store fat in certain areas of the body. And, you can't control where fat's going to get stored.
Okay.
So
you cannot control where fat's going to get stored.
Yeah. So when I eat a hamburger, it's not going to just say, hey, I want to store in my face. I'll lose weight out of my face and my stomach area first, then it would be probably my hips and thighs.
So I lose weight first in my hips every time I start intentionally trimming down. Like for instance, I wanted to come down off of from 245, 250. And what I did was I targeted losing the weight, but then I noticed that as I would fast and exercise, you know, et cetera, and eat better, what happened is I started falling off. I knew I was losing the weight because it started in my hips and in my legs first.
Yeah.
Now, I can build it back, but I have to regard the fact that those are the first two places that I lose it.
Yeah.
And
I mean, again, everyone has a pair of genes or somehow you can, you know, the scale is the worst depiction of what's going on in the body. So
say that again. The scale
is the worst depiction.
The worst depiction of what's going on in the body.
Yeah.
So we just want to see what our weight is.
Yeah,
but the scale doesn't really tell you what's going on.
Yeah, it doesn't know that you probably might be losing too much muscle and you're not losing the fat.
Oh, wow.
So the thing that we have at the Gold's Gym is we have a machine that measures your visceral fat. It measures how much muscle you have. We know how much fat you have in each area of the body. So we can measure this.
Okay.
So as you lose weight, we can show you where you're losing the weight in your arms, your legs, your stomach area. And then we can show you how you're adding muscle to the body. So it's very important where you can see people are losing weight, but when we look at the scan, they're losing too much muscle versus the fat that they want to lose.
So that's why sometimes then I would feel like the losing of the weight is not gain.
Yeah.
My mind is trying to tell me, being connected to my spirit, that even though that's what my aspiration is, I'm going about it the wrong way.
Yes.
So I'm losing touch with. That's when I need more information, like I'm
Yeah.
getting now. Now, the last time I was tested, I guess then I didn't know it was a visceral fat test. But the last time I was tested, I think, and this was probably 5 years ago, maybe. I averaged during that time between 11 to 22% body fat. That's pretty good at age, I think I was around 58, 57, 58 when I did that last test. Was that okay? At 6 foot?
Yeah. I mean, we want, for a male, we want roughly about 15 to 10% body fat.
And I was there, but I used to.
For a female, it will be 18 to 24.
Okay, let me slow down there. So for a male, you want that to be around,
I mean,
10 to 15%.
Some people, that's what the problem. People want
Okay.
to see they want to see their muscles in their stomach, or they want to see, they want to see the work that they put it in. So if you want to see some definition in the arms and every that stuff, we got to lower our body fat. So like, see, a person who is skinny can still have a high body fat because they have zero muscle. So I can say to a person, I can say a person it can be very unhealthy. They can be a skinny fat person.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you need to say that again. A person who is skinny can have a high volume
of fat.
Of fat, body fat.
And have zero muscle.
And have zero muscle. Boy, we need to really exercise. So lean doesn't mean muscle.
Health. Well, lean doesn't mean that they're good in good
Doesn't
health.
mean good.
Yeah. So they can appear skinny, but so a person who might feel like, hey, I don't have to work out because I'm skinny. I don't. But they never work out with weights. They have low muscle mass. Yeah. And then things start to droop.
Talk a little closer. That is something. Talk a little closer to the body, because we need to hear this. Because I think, again, that's a misnomer. That's a misunderstood.
Yeah. Especially with women, because women feel like they're going to go to the gym and they're going to get all big and bulky muscle. All it is that women need to gain muscle. That's the most important thing for females, is they need to come in the gym and because in society, when it comes to lifting weights on coming to a gym itself, Gold's was, founded in 1965. We're not talking, we're talking pretty much over 50 years or whatever it might be. I don't know the math, but it's not long ago since we were able to get people to come to a facility and lift weights, So women, and men, they got their exercise out there on the farm and they got their moving, But now since there's so much, we don't, groceries are so easy to get, purchase, technology, and the foods that we're eating, the cheapest foods that we eat are the least expensive and they're the worst for you, So we're getting, I always tell people, if it's in a box, a can, or a wrapper, or been changed or manipulated by man in some degree to be sold at a profit, buy one, get one free, then you really have to be careful of it. So when you're going to the grocery store and you see it coming down the conveyor belt, how many of those products are coming down the conveyor belt that's going to come into my bodies and wreak havoc into my temple? So it's an honest depiction when you're talking about gut health, is that products that are being made for you, you're putting into your bodies because it was a great sale. I can buy 2 Doritos, or I can get, all that stuff that we're eating, consuming. So if you talk about on a spiritual aspect, if you eat, your proteins, carbohydrates, your body needs proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, but God has made all those elements out there for you. So you have your fruits and vegetables and your proteins out there. So basically, if you really just make it really simple, if you just eat God, your body will self-heal itself.
If you just eat God's things that He made for you in nature.
In nature, yeah. Because your bodies actually understand it and compute it. When you eat something that's not of God, your body doesn't recognize it, and it's going to store as fat.
I hope we can hear that. When we eat God, our body
actually, it understands it, it computes it, and it recognizes it.
It recognizes it. When we eat God, our body understands it, it computes it, it recognizes it. But when we eat processed food,
it doesn't understand it, recognizes
it. Confuses our body.
So now it has to store as something, so it stores as fat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So now that sends me back to then the point you made about the fact that just because an individual is lean doesn't mean they have muscle mass.
It's skinny.
Skinny.
The word skinny.
Okay, the word is skinny.
Yeah.
Thin.
We look at people sometimes as, hey, that person's fat or skinny or whatever it might be. So when we're talking about, females, we're talking about at early stages when females, they have 3 areas where a female can actually gain weight in their life. First thing is during puberty. Okay. And if they have a lot of excess weight during that period of their time, eventually they go through puberty and then they are in their they might be 22, 23, 24, they'll get married and then they'll have a baby, which is pregnancy.
Okay, puberty, pregnancy.
And then at the age, if they don't get the weight off during the pregnancy stage, they usually might be able to lose the weight in their first child, but when the second child and the third child comes, then they gain that weight back, and then after raising their family, and they're always on the go, and they don't make time for exercise because they become the less priority for themselves. They're taking care of the family and being everybody's helper. They aren't helping themselves during that phase, so then they get into menopause. That's when they gain a lot of weight too. So women will gain weight in puberty, pregnancy and menopause.
Puberty, pregnancy, and menopause. Go ahead.
And then men usually will have they usually are doing some type of high school sports, lifting weights. They're promoted to lift weights, and then they go through high school, lifting weights. So they have pretty much a good muscle mass. And then if they don't go to college or they don't go to military or have someone pushing them into some type of form of exercise, But once they graduate college and they are having a family, they don't have a sergeant or they don't have a coach or someone that's pushing them, then they're not doing that movement either. So then they'll gain weight too, because they lose that person that's driving them to the gym. So when you have a college coach, for me, my sports, drove me all the way to the point where I wanted to, drive for an Olympic medal, for volleyball. But once I stopped my professional career, I had periods of time in my life where I lost my coach and I lost my team and I lost that environment that made it easy for me to exercise.
So you lost your motivation.
So I lost my motivation. So the gym atmosphere is that you're looking for a community of people that are moving and are going and are doing. And so then you're surrounding yourself with people that are doing the same thing with the church. You're being sanctified. You're finding ways to be able to go into a church, and then there's activities. Hey, we're going to go help this person, or we're going to do this thing, and we're going to go out here, and you're going to do that. So it gives you opportunities to do things for the Lord. Same thing with, the gym.
So the community aspect must be one of my enhancers, because I had a gym at home, and I just started losing interest. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what it was. It wasn't, I needed more equipment. I think I just needed to be in community, because it gave me a sense of belonging. Community. I guess sometimes it's good to be able to just conversate about some of the things that we're actually doing. Helps us to reestablish goals. It gives you, you get a chance to envision sometimes watching how someone else is working on their own body. It kind of motivates you to, re-challenge yourself about things.
Well, you see examples of people that are
That's
in
what I'm looking
their
for,
their
examples.
70s or 80s, and they're 5% body fat, or
Okay.
you're like, so what is he doing that I'm not doing? But he's been working out for 40 years, and it's a part of his lifestyle. So working out has come to a point, is like, you're not going to forget to breathe. You're not going to forget to eat. Working out, it's got to be kind of an ability where it's, working out is a part of your life. It's a lifestyle change. So
It's a lifestyle.
It's a discipline that you have to put into your life, and then you're going to reap the reward of that.
Now, see, that's the good part of it for me.
It's very honest.
Yeah, very honest. Now, I want to stay there for a moment, though, because, again, this part of the discussion is really challenging me. It sounds like the goal for exercise should not be so much as to gain or lose weight as much as it is to increase muscle mass, or to maintain a certain level of muscle mass, right?
Yes.
So muscle mass it does what for the body different?
So let's just look at energy, or just movement, or just burning energy, or metabolism. So let's just say we had a goal. Hey, we're going to take the next year and a half, maybe 2 years. Even if it's 2 years, we'll just say 2 years. And we gained 10 pounds of lean muscle mass evenly around the whole body. So it's not a 10-pound bicep. It's not a 10-pound butt cheek or chest muscle, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's evenly around the whole body.
Okay.
And when you look at that, adding that 10 pounds of lean muscle, so if 1 pound of muscle burns 50 calories for you per day, and I added 10 more pounds, that's an extra 500 more calories my body's burning at complete rest.
Now you need to say that one more time. 1 pound of muscle burns
50 calories per day.
50 calories a day.
Yeah.
1 pound
of
muscle
muscle
burns
50 calories a day.
Now, first of all, before we go into the rest of the equation, how important is it that the calories are being burned each day?
Yeah, because those are calories that you're going to consume through the day that you're going to have to burn.
Okay.
So let's just
Now,
translate,
now you use the term have to burn.
Yeah.
Why do I have to burn those
because
calories?
your body has that basal metabolic rate
Okay, it has that basement about
that's going to burn
rate.
a certain amount of calories for you per day
Or
if you're sleeping all day.
okay, if I'm sleeping, or if it doesn't,
You know, it's going to burn. So like for
oh,
myself,
it is going to burn.
my body burns about 2,800 calories per day for me sitting on my butt doing nothing.
Okay,
Sleeping,
so is that good or bad?
that's good.
So
But you have maybe a female that's only burning 1,200 calories.
okay,
So if we have that person add 10 pounds of muscle, if it be male or female, a female that's burning 1,200 calories and we add 10 pounds of lean muscle in her body, she's now going to be burning 1,700 calories per day, sitting on her butt doing nothing. And her body's going to burn those calories because your heart rate's at a low rate. So your body's going to burn an extra 500 more calories. Now let's translate that to work in the gym. If I spent the next year and a half and I told you, hey, we're going to add 10 pounds of muscle because we're going to add some resistance training program, because you can't add muscle doing cardio. We're going to have to do resistance training.
right,
We're going to have to make sure you eat a certain amount of protein. We're going to have nutrition, all that stuff, component. And we add that 10 pounds for you. Now that 10 pounds is going to burn an extra 500 more calories for you per day. So if you were to translate yourself in just doing cardio, most people, when they go to the gym, they'll go and walk on a treadmill. You would have to walk on a treadmill for an hour and a half to burn 500 calories.
wow,
So what I just did for you, in the next year, I'm going to put inside you a walking treadmill for the rest of your life that burns an extra 500 more calories. That means that you're walking an hour and a half a day for yourself, that you've did the necessary work to build that walking treadmill inside you. Now, who wouldn't want to be able to burn an extra 500 more calories? Well, they just they don't have the vision, they don't have the dream or the consistency to want to do the work to build that inside them. And that's the goal. The goal is to get people to understand that the more muscle you have in your body, the more calories you burn at complete rest. And when your body's at complete rest, your body uses fat as an energy source. Okay? Because your heart rate, it takes tons of oxygen to convert fat into an energy. So if you don't have
takes tons of what?
oxygen,
Okay, to convert,
fat into an energy. So
and the body needs the energy
body needs energy.
because
Your body's using this energy all day long, because it's because your cells have to be operating. It has to be
Okay.
working. So your cells are duplicating and changing, and skin cells, all this different stuff in your body. So you're not the same person. Every day you're changing. So your body's constantly replenishing and developing and refreshing. So it's constantly, it's like you're a gigantic battery. You know what I
Okay.
mean? So, and too, just by energy, when your wife, when she's cold, she might put her foot close to you, because
Okay.
you have more energy it just because you have more muscle mass,
Okay.
So you're just burning more calories, and and women who don't work out and lift weights, they're afraid that they're going to get big and bulky, but they don't change their eating habits. So what happens is they add muscle, plus they keep their fat, so they become big or bulky because they haven't changed their eating habits. So we need to do a combination of proper resistance training. We have to do proper food intake. We have to do proper cardiovascular exercise, and we have to there might be some things that are supplemental where you're not getting enough protein or minerals and vitamins that we could be able to supplement for you that you can take, so that you have those elements in the body so your body can perform optimally. And then the personal trainers at the gym too, they're trying to help you spin all these plates to make sure that they can develop a program using all those elements.
So you said muscle maintenance, food intake,
Cardiovascular exercise,
cardiovascular exercise, supplementation,
and personal training.
and personal training. I want to go back
Or
over that again.
just basically a person or someone, because people need to feel like they have a plan on something. So they kind of are, it's like a financial planner or anybody, you're hiring somebody to give you expertise to kind of work these elements into your life. So resistance training is number one.
Okay. Now, the resistance training should consist primarily of what?
Any kind of weight-bearing exercise.
Any kind of weight-bearing. So can I get...
Just work. So your body has...
Picking up, putting down.
Can feel something so it can get stronger.
Okay. So is that like lifting pots?
Anything.
Pans?
Farmer.
So a lot of times you'll hear women say, well, I've gotten enough exercise today. I've been sweeping, I've been mopping.
But their body is so smart to that so a person who is a construction worker who's working overhead doing, all that stuff, versus doing something overhead with some plywood or whatever, versus doing a shoulder press in the gym is going to be completely different than a person doing the same thing over and over again. Same thing with someone who's doing the dishes or doing the same housework or walking the same route every day. Their body just gets smarter, so it burns less calories. It doesn't mean that they don't burn the calories. Their body just gets smarter. So it's called the law of adaptation. Your body just adapts to that, and it gets smarter, so it burns less calories.
So stay there for a moment. Stay there for a moment. Oh, boy. Yeah, the pollen's just out there. It's caught me a couple of times. So the law of adaptation. Mm-hmm. The body gets smarter. It sounds almost like the body learns how to disqualify things that we do consistently, and therefore the body itself needs to be tricked.
Yeah.
Or are you telling me that?
So just kind of an example, a person who actually starts walking around the neighborhood.
Okay.
So what happens is they walk around the neighborhood and they start losing weight, and then 2 months later, 3 months, they walk that same neighborhood, they're not losing any more weight because their body has learned to adapt to that. So let's say
law of adaptation.
Law of adaptation. It's real, So
it's real.
So
that's why there's you can see stagnicity in people's program.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, what started off working no longer works.
Yeah, they have to change it, and they have to change their program. So that at the gym, when you have multiple pieces of equipment and different treadmills and different programs, it's easy for us to change that different walk or different program. So coming to the gym, we can change the different stimuli for your body to always progress in great results versus a person just doing the same thing over and over again, hoping that they're going to see a change but never see a change. And that's the definition of an insanity. You don't want to be in that situation. You just want to put yourself in the best situation is to be a part of a community that knows what they're doing, and let us surround you and give you and equip you so that you can have the best outcome.
So you just told me, let me make sure that I heard you correctly, that I can be of the persuasion that because I have a programmed regimen of walking every day, and I've been doing it now for the last 6 months consistently, what was workable in the first phase of it has now become something that needs to be tweaked or changed, because if I'm just doing the same thing, all of a sudden the results are not the same.
You have to
because
change
of the law of adaptation. My body has learned how to use that program as a what?
It's now burning less calories, so you're not using your time wisely. So now you have to increase your level of intensity so you can change the level of an incline. Maybe instead of walking flat, you can go up to 3% or 5%. That's why in the treadmill it has multiple programs for you to be able to change your walking pattern, or your elliptical, increase the resistance levels, or on your bicycle, change those resistance programs so you're not doing the same pedaling or motion. So
a better program, even if I'm going to include just say 30 to 45 minutes a day, a better program would be, a smart program would be one that utilizes different technique, different venues, different media.
Yeah, for you, you could do
so many times a week?
Yeah, like so most people when they do their cardio, they don't want to get off the treadmill because they have a goal of maybe being on there for 50 minutes. So they start walking the treadmill but they could do a treadmill for 20 minutes and then get on to an elliptical for another 20 minutes and then do the stair stepper for another 10. So it's still 50 minutes, but they're just changing their environment. The time's still the same, but what they're doing in that time's different.
Wow.
And then same with the equipment, a chest press is a chest press, and a row is a row, but you can change that exercise by just slowing down the tempo of exercise or going slow through different phases, or you can go to a different machine or a free weight. The exercise is still the same exercise that you like to do, but you're just using a different machine for that. So then your body, you can change it you could do a tweak, and as long as you tweak it, your body will feel like, hey, this is something different. Then it's going to want to get stronger. It's going to want to get better.
So it sounds like, friends, one of the things that's really been pointed out here, as far as our programs are concerned, we have to be willing to make constant adjustments so that we keep the body guessing.
Yes.
To a degree. And that's how we're able to accomplish our goals and objectives, where the development of muscle mass or management of muscle mass is concerned. Last thing, go back again for me one more time over gut health. Mm-hmm. The importance, how important is gut health for men and women?
Well, again, it's kind of like almost like a Amazon forest, It's kind of like it has this the ecosystem,
okay.
You know what I mean? So when you're putting lots of sugars and you're doing a lot of processed foods, you're changing that ecosystem, and you're making your body work harder. So it's not able to relax. It's kind of like what spiritually we try to create shalom in our home, It's same thing with our bodies. We're trying to have this thing called homeostasis. Your body's constantly trying to have peace, and it's working on your blood pressure, your sugar levels, and all that stuff. So when you bring these foreign things in, your body goes to war for you with insulin, and it tries to drive these sugar levels and control these sugar levels, but it has an effect on how it's going to store for you in your future. So it's kind of like when you have high levels of insulin in your body because you're taking a lot of sugar, you're taking sugar into the body, which is, something that you can control. Then all of a sudden, the insulin is going to want to put the sugar into the cell. And what happens is sometimes when there's too much sugar that's in this cell, it doesn't want to open up to insulin, so it becomes insulin resistant. That's type 2 diabetes.
Okay,
so
insulin resistance,
yeah.
Type 2 diabetes.
And so now there's too much sugar in your blood.
Okay.
So that's why when you come into exercise, we're trying to burn that sugar that's in the blood that can't go into the cell and store. So now we're trying to create this this environment or this ecosystem inside your body so it's going to perform and be optimal, and so that you can be optimal.
Okay.
So, but we tend to, take in products that are constantly we're going to war with on a daily basis. So that body's so concentrated on dealing with battling forces that doesn't need to make these wars. It doesn't want that conflict. It just wants to be at peace. But we decide to bring these foreign invaders in, sugar or whatever we want, and it's causing long-term effects.
So you said my body doesn't want that conflict.
It doesn't want that conflict.
It doesn't.
But it's the same thing with sin.
Yeah.
What does we put something, it sneaks in the door or it sneaks in.
But my body wants sin.
Yeah.
It wants sin. It wants sin. But right. It don't want the conflict.
But again, it's the discipline, right?
Okay.
It's the discipline of just saying, hey, but it's that consistency of being able to say no to something and then seeing the results of you saying that. So your body has a chance to, be at rest. So what happens is when you have too much sugar into the body, and that sugar level, your body is not going to use fat as an energy source anymore because there's too much sugar in the body. So we need to lower your insulin levels, so your insulin levels are lower and calmer through the day, so your body uses fat as energy.
And we lower the insulin levels by
eating God,
eating
natural
God.
Foods.
Yeah. Okay. We lower the insulin. We're back to God. I love that. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of God. And when we enrich ourselves with God, the eating of God, we see now that not only is God the enhancer of our spirit, but we've learned how God enhances our physical body. I think it's so important, in closing, Ken, that we set some kind of goal for our audience, or we set some kind of targets for this year for our audience.
Yeah, the goal is to move more than you eat, right? So
to move more than you eat.
All right. And to eat God.
And to eat God.
To eat nature. And you need to eat smaller meals more frequently versus one gigantic meal or two gigantic meals.
Wait a minute, you can't run past that, because I remember I started years ago eating about 6 meals a day.
Yeah.
And because people would hear the number 6, that meant to them, oh, he's
Full
greedy.
Yeah.
He just eat all day. Well, the reality is, when I was eating 6 meals a day, I was eating small
meals.
Increments.
Yeah.
Right. And that does the body much better.
That keeps the metabolism going.
So you want to, okay, so can I use this term? We're getting out of here. Continuity of you said, what was the word you used?
It increases your metabolism.
So you want to increase the continuity of your metabolism by eating.
Yeah, it speeds it up.
So you want to get it up at a certain speed and keep it there.
Yeah, so when you exercise, it speeds up your metabolism, so it actually increases your appetite because your body needs those good calories. But if you're inactive and you're not moving, your appetite is all over the place. And the reason why when you're eating bad foods, your insulin, just like with every addiction, you're feeding it with withdrawal. So when you eat, let's say,
feeding a withdrawal,
you're feeding withdrawal. So what happens is that if I have, let's just say I have I have cereal in the morning. Milk is sugar, the Cheerios are sugar, and the honey nut on the Cheerios is sugar. So I'm having a sugar bowl to start my day. So little kids want to have a cereal in the morning. It gives them energy, but then they're going to have a high insulin level, and then they're going to have a huge crash. With every addiction in the world, people are feeding a withdrawal from that addiction. So if there's too much insulin in the body, your body has to feed that insulin. So you're feeding that addiction because there's too much insulin in your body. So you're going to have to get a snack of bad choice because it's wanting that sugar. Because there's too much insulin in the body, so your brain says, hey, I need more sugar. So you have to feed that addiction.
Man, we got to come back and talk about that some more. Because, I want us to keep having these healthy conversations, because it's the will of God that we prosper and be in health, even as our souls prosper. And sometimes we just disregard altogether the importance of the inclusion of the type of habits that will give us this kind of dualistic, correspondent prosperity, both in health and in wealth. Go ahead.
Yeah, just things like we're addicted to soda, we're addicted to alcohol. Certain alcohols are sugars, so moderation, we're trying to know, hey, what are things that we know that exist I can have moderation of, but we have to know what it's capable of. So, but if you eat clean, or you eat, your gut health is going to be better. If you don't eat clean, your gut health is going to be horrible for you. It's just doing things consistently the right way. You're going to reap the reward of that. Your fruits of your labor are gonna, and the things that you're sowing into the body, you're going to reap the rewards. And you have to have a long-term vision of it, because it's something that of a quick fix. It's sometimes we're eating because of emotional reasons or things that it gives to our body. It fills a void. So we have to be honest with ourselves and figure out, why am I eating some of these things for myself? Because there might be some underlying reasons too. It's a pattern.
Wow. You know, this discussion can go so many places. I think the next time we're going to talk about the importance of exercise and bone density.
Yeah.
We haven't touched that one.
No.
But we've got to deal with that hormones and hormonal adjustment and hormonal management, so that we understand how exercise, eating, and all those other things factor into that as well. I'm trying to get us to a place where we're not so medicinally driven, where we don't always find ourselves at the pharmacist trying to find something that's a chemical that's been manufactured in the lab that really isn't going to do us much. You know, it may do us some temporal good, but not, you know.
I mean, I give everybody out there a prescription. You know, if a person wants to, you know, feel better, look better, you know, but a doctor gives them a prescription to solve an issue. They're so easy to go to Target or CVS or Walgreens and fill that prescription so quickly. But I'm giving you guys and inviting you all out there to get your prescription from Gold's Gym, to fill that prescription of exercise, so we can put you on the right track, so you can avoid all the synthetic drugs and all the things that are easy for you to do to fix something that's just a Band-Aid. It's not fixing the cause. So we need to do a better job promoting a community that will receive you and invite you, and know that we can help you have the best outcome for your life.
Can you give us the phone number that we need to call if we would like more information, if we would like to set up an appointment, if we would like to join the gym? Give us the information that's necessary.
It's 706-391-4111, 706-391-4111, and we are in the city of Evans, Georgia, 4408 Evans the Lock Road, Evans, Georgia. Again,
and the hours are
24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We never close. The only day we close is Christmas.
Only day we close is Christmas. So you can get there, and your work schedule does not have to interfere with your ability to have access to the gym.
Yeah, so we can just make sure you keep moving and taking action for your life.
Moving and taking action has been the central theme of our discussion today. And I hope and pray that you, as a listener, will take heed to the things that we have shared. I'm so honored again to have as guest with me the Honorable Ken Lynch from Gold's Gym. I love him. I really appreciate his insightful hand. You know, I love being around wisdom. The Bible says, get wisdom, for wisdom is the principal thing. But in all you're getting, get understanding. And Ken, you've given us so much understanding today. Thank you so much. I'm just looking forward to the next series of discussions that we'll share. I think I'm going to open it up next time, not just to the men, but also to the women and the men.
Yeah.
I want to open it up to the whole church, and we're going to sit down and discuss it and allow the women. Maybe you can bring one of your
personal trainers,
female, personal trainers with you, and because I'm sure the women want to really, really hear more about gut health and about this movement and this eating and all these other things. Because a lot of people walk, you know, and they do the same walk every day, and they whatever. So I'm just glad we have someone that brings the insight that's necessary. Now, in closing, remember this: the Bible says, "A wise man will hear and increase learning, and a man who understands will attain to wise counsel. So fasten yourself to the things that's been shared and make everything shared user-friendly, and God is going to be glorified for your usury because you will take care of the temple of you. God bless you. Go in peace, but keep growing in grace through knowledge, and we'll see you here in our next discussion. Amen.
Amen.